amazing. Oh, I'm losing my microphone. It's wonderful to be here. I am absolutely stunned by the welcome, first of all, but also the atmosphere here. It's wonderful what you've done, the TEDx team. It's great. A big round of applause for them. I think they deserve it. So I could have come on stage and do a dance show or do a talk about cooking, but I think they're persons who actually know what they're talking about and can dance. So they asked me to talk about the future of cash. It's probably due to my personal journey. So I'll start by telling you a bit of my background. And actually, it started with an accident. Things happen sometimes by accident. But here, in this specific case, it was back in 2001. I was a student at the time in Toulouse, in the south of France, studying at the Toulouse School of Management. And in fact, this fertilizer factory exploded. And that was massive. A lot of casualties. It was quite something. And at the time, my brother was working for a tech company. And actually, he phoned me up and said, listen, could you come with some of your rugby friends? Because all the doors and windows of the company have been blown away. We've got laptops, we've got smartphones, and we're stressed that we would get robbed. So I went there, met the CEO, founder of this company, 123 Multimedia, and actually he told me, aren't you interested by all this thing about digital and so on? I said, no, not really. I was about to start an internship with Airbus. Toulouse is all about, aerospace and so on. So, okay, great guy. He was quite inspiring. But remember that September 2001 was also 9/11. So 10 days, that happened actually 10 days after 9/11. And Airbus called me up and said, your internship is cancelled, so you're out. So what can I do then? I phoned the guy straight away and said, listen, your offer, that's wonderful. I'll take it. I'll start with you. It seems great. I know nothing about tech, but you are great. I'll join the company, which I did. So I completely derailed my career plans. So that's the reason why I ended up in Luxembourg. I'll cut the story short. I partnered with two great guys, Raoul Mulaims and George Berscheid, who are the initiators of micropayments here in Luxembourg, and they came up with this idea of doing mobile payments. And they introduced me to this idea and said, we want to partner with banks. We want to do mobile payments, but not as a wallet, but something that actually would be connected to existing accounts. I said, okay, let's do that. And so I moved all my family to Luxembourg, came here 13 years ago, and actually DigiCash became a huge success here first, and then in Benelux, and now with Payconic, and now in Europe with EPI. So this is how, and I suppose why, they asked me to come and talk about the future of cash. So what you've got to understand, trade has always been, as long as we are remembering the human interaction, and these things are bound to happen. Trading is part of our normal life, daily life. So there are different means, and what is required is a token of value to be able to exchange. So we started roughly 1,000 years ago with bartering. That was the first mean of payment. And then 770 years before Christ, the Chinese introduced coins. Then we had, in 700 before Christ, paper money. And then we moved, more recently, 20th century, to electronic payments. It's mainly due to the rise of all the computers, trading, electronic trading, and so on. And then we because of electronic payments, the rails were there in place. We had card payments. So that was the next step. That happened second half of the 20th century, and we moved more recently, for the beginning of the 21st century, with mobile payments. Mobile payments is something specific, as we've figured out, but it's also just a step. And the last one would be cryptocurrencies. That has big trend. We've heard about Bitcoin for the past 10, 15 years. These are the different ways, means of payments. But the payment is only a way to actually exchange, trade. And I like this quote by Ryan Thaxton, because it basically means that exchange, trading, is only about trust. If you trust the other person, if you trust the value of the token that they're sharing, a coin, a paper note, that works. If not, we're in a big mess. So what we actually saw also is that it's about trust, but also convenience. So as mentioned in the different means of payments, actually cash is wonderful for everyone. When you go to a shop, you can show a note, you can show a coin, everyone will understand. The person at the till, yourself, it's easy. Card is also fairly easy. Just tap and pay or introduce your PIN code. Everyone understands that. But it's about a context. You can't use cash to pay an invoice. You can't just throw the money onto your invoice and then expect it to be paid. No. So then it's the reason why we've defined different means of payments based on the context. And I think that e-commerce has actually shown that if you multiply the way of paying the different means, then you maximize the conversion. Here, what we have to see also is the impact of globalization. So, in this context, obviously, globalization has led us to an increase of electronic payments. We need to trade, so high-frequency trading. We have bank transfers, more and more of these, cross-border payments, obviously. But it's also showing the decrease of cash. You need to have the same currency. So in Europe, we have the euro, which is handy. But if you go outside of Europe, then you need to convert, which also is something to do with what the bankers in this room would love, anti-money laundering. This is a nightmare for a bank, for a financial institution. So basically, cash exposes to money laundering. You see all the narcos, so Netflix and so on. I shouldn't quote brands. Sorry about that. But if you see all the guys in these wonderful series, they are putting all their banknotes in the walls of their houses and stuff. It's wonderful. But what can you do with that afterwards? They were even burning it to heat up the room. Try doing that with a mobile phone. That wouldn't be very successful. Anyway, so that shows that there's a clear decrease in the usage of cash. We're going towards cashless societies. And in fact, to the point where certain countries, such as Sweden, had to introduce a law to maintain cash, which is mesmerizing. It's crazy to think that today we have a new law in a given country because of the success of mobile payment to maintain cash. This is financial inclusion, actually. It's mainly because elderly people can't manage mobile payments. This is something that we have to take into consideration. The evolution of the payment means brings also some cons. So, my prediction, what could be the future of cash? Actually, I've got here 3 means of payments. I've got a card, I've got a banknote on my phone. Out of these 3 items, 2 will never be used by Generation Alpha. Think about it and feel very old. Thank you very much.